There comes a moment in your spiritual evolution when the weight you've carried for lifetimes simply disappears. Not through forgetting, not through denial, but through a profound alchemical transformation that most souls never experience. Your vision becomes clear when you look into your heart. Who looks outside dreams. Who looks inside awakens. Carl Jung. Onward thinkers, my name is Mister Halvig, and you're watching The Rational Wise. Today we venture into the most mysterious territory of human consciousness, the clearing of karmic debt. Carl Jung, the master of the collective unconscious, understood what ancient wisdom traditions knew, that our souls carry imprints far older than our current lifetime. These aren't punishments from a cosmic judge, but unintegrated shadows that echo through our psyche until we finally let them go. But here's what nobody tells you about karmic liberation. It doesn't announce itself with fanfare. It arrives like dawn breaking over a landscape you've walked in darkness for years. Suddenly, patterns that once controlled your every move lose their grip. Relationships that drained your life force no longer call to you. And that inexplicable heaviness you carried in your chest begins to lift. The question that haunts every seeker becomes, how do I know when I'm truly free? Jung believed that the unconscious speaks in symbols, synchronicities, and subtle shifts in our inner atmosphere. When karmic debt clears, your entire energetic signature changes. You stop attracting the same lessons disguised as different people. You stop sabotaging your own abundance. You stop living as though you owe the universe an apology for existing. In the next 20 minutes, we'll explore 7 unmistakable signs that your soul has completed its ancient work. These aren't mere psychological concepts. They're initiations into a new way of being. If you've been sensing that something fundamental has shifted in your life, if peace has been finding you in unexpected moments, or if you've been receiving without the familiar struggle, you may already be walking in the freedom that most spend lifetimes seeking. This is your invitation to recognize your own liberation. Sign 1. The emotional patterns that once defined you. Simply stop. For years, perhaps decades, you've been caught in the same emotional loops. You attract abandonment, so you create distance. You fear rejection, so you reject first. You crave authentic love, so you settle for familiar pain. Different faces, same wounds. Different circumstances, same suffering. Jung called this the eternal return, the compulsive repetition of unresolved psychic material. Your unconscious mind, like a broken record, keeps playing the same song until you learn to change the needle. But then something profound occurs. You encounter a situation that would have previously triggered your deepest wound, and nothing happens. The old fire doesn't ignite. The familiar panic doesn't rise. You observe the pattern attempting to engage you, but it's as if you're watching it through glass, present but protected. Consider the myth of Sisyphus, condemned to push a boulder up a mountain for eternity. The tragedy isn't the weight of the stone, it's the unconscious compulsion to keep pushing without questioning why. When your karmic debt clears, you stop being Sisyphus. You set down the boulder and walk away, not in rebellion, but in quiet recognition that the task was never yours to complete. In our modern world, this manifests as suddenly recognizing toxic relationship patterns before they ensnare you. You see the red flags not as challenges to overcome, but as information to honor. You stop trying to heal others as a way of healing yourself. You stop choosing partners who need fixing because you no longer need to prove your worth through suffering. Trust your nervous system over your mind. When something feels familiar in that old, heavy way, pause. Ask yourself, is this pattern serving my evolution or is it serving my trauma? Then choose accordingly. Sign 2, a profound peace that requires no external validation. After breaking free from repetitive patterns, something unexpected emerges, a silence that doesn't feel empty. You sit with yourself without the need to fill the space with distractions, achievements, or other people's energy. This isn't the peace of exhaustion, it's the peace of completion. Jung understood that individuation, becoming who you truly are, creates an inner stability that no external circumstance can shake. When karmic debt clears, you stop living in reaction to your environment and start living from your center. The ancient Stoics knew this state well. Marcus Aurelius wrote from battlefields, yet maintained an inner sanctuary that war couldn't touch. This is what happens when you're no longer fighting battles that belong to previous versions of yourself. You develop what Jung called the transcendent function, the ability to hold paradox without being torn apart by it. You can feel sadness without becoming sad. You can witness chaos without becoming chaotic. You can love someone without losing yourself in them. This isn't detachment, it's wholeness. In contemporary terms, this shows up as no longer needing to explain your boundaries, defend your choices, or prove your worth. You make decisions based on internal wisdom rather than external pressure. You stop checking your phone for validation because you found the approval you were seeking within yourself. Practice the inner witness meditation. When emotions arise, instead of immediately reacting, pause and observe. I notice anger arising. I notice sadness appearing. This creates space between you and your emotions, allowing you to respond rather than react. Sign 3. Life begins to support you instead of testing you. Perhaps the most startling sign of cleared karmic debt is when resistance dissolves. Opportunities that once required exhausting effort begin to flow naturally. People who align with your highest good start appearing in your life. Resources arrive when you need them, often in ways you couldn't have orchestrated. This isn't about positive thinking or manifestation techniques. It's about energetic alignment. When you're no longer carrying the frequency of unresolved trauma, you stop attracting situations that echo that trauma. The universe responds to your vibration, not your words. Jung spoke of synchronicity, meaningful coincidences that suggest an underlying order to existence. When karmic debt clears, synchronicities multiply. You think of someone and they call. You need guidance and find exactly the right book. You require healing and encounter the perfect healer. Think of how water flows downhill, not because it's trying to reach the bottom, but because it's following the natural laws of physics. When your karmic debt clears, your life begins to follow similar natural laws. You stop swimming against currents that were never meant for you. You were never meant to struggle for what's truly yours. In practical terms, this might look like receiving genuine love without having to earn it, finding work that energizes rather than drains you, or attracting abundance without the old patterns of guilt or self-sabotage. You stop operating from scarcity and start operating from sufficiency. Pay attention to what comes easily. Often we dismiss gifts because we've been conditioned to believe that value requires struggle. When something flows naturally into your life, receive it with gratitude rather than suspicion. Sign 4. You feel called to purpose, not driven by survival. When the fog of karmic debt lifts, a clarity emerges about why you're here. This isn't the desperate seeking of someone trying to find their purpose. It's the quiet recognition of someone who has remembered their purpose. Jung believed that the second half of life is about meaning, not achievement. When karmic debt clears, you naturally transition from asking, "How do I survive?" to asking, "How do I serve?" This shift is profound because it indicates that your soul is no longer trapped in survival mode. You begin to see your past struggles not as random suffering, but as preparation for something greater. Your wounds become wisdom you can offer others. Your healing becomes a roadmap for those still lost in the darkness you've emerged from. This is the mythic journey of the wounded healer, someone who has descended into their own underworld, and returned with gifts for the collective. Chiron, the wounded healer of Greek mythology, could heal others precisely because he had integrated his own unhealable wound. Your pain was never meaningless. It was preparation. In contemporary life, this manifests as feeling genuinely excited about your work, wanting to contribute to something larger than yourself, or finding yourself naturally mentoring others. You stop living small to avoid judgment and start living fully to honor your gifts. Ask yourself, what would I do if I knew I couldn't fail and money wasn't a consideration? Your answer reveals your authentic purpose. Then take one small step toward that vision today. The first 4 signs reveal the internal transformation, the shifts in patterns, peace, flow, and purpose. But karmic debt clearing goes deeper than personal healing. It affects your relationship with time, energy, and even death itself. The next 3 signs are more subtle, more profound, and frankly, more unsettling. They deal with the dissolution of the ego's grip on reality and the emergence of what Jung called the self, the divine spark within you that was never wounded and never needed healing. If you're enjoying the content, don't forget to hit the like button. It helps more than you think. Now let's continue. Sign 5. You begin to experience time differently. When karmic debt clears, your relationship with time undergoes a mystical transformation. You stop living in the past through regret or in the future through anxiety. You begin to inhabit the eternal present, not as a spiritual concept, but as a lived reality. Jung spoke of the eternal now, moments when the linear progression of time seems to pause, and you experience reality from a transcendent perspective. When karmic debt clears, these moments become more frequent and more profound. You might notice that you're no longer rushed, even when you have deadlines. You trust timing in a way that seems almost supernatural to others. You release the need to control outcomes and start dancing with the unfolding of life. This is the consciousness that ancient mystics called kairos, sacred time as opposed to chronos, mechanical time. In kairos, 5 minutes can feel like hours, and hours can feel like minutes. You're operating from a different frequency of existence. Practice presence meditation. Set aside time each day to simply be without doing. Notice how your relationship with time shifts when you're not constantly moving toward the next thing. Sign 6. You develop an unshakable inner authority. Perhaps the most profound sign of cleared karmic debt is the emergence of what Jung called the self, the archetypal center of your being that transcends personality, conditioning, and trauma. When this aspect of yourself comes online, you develop an inner authority that no external force can challenge. This isn't arrogance or ego inflation. It's the quiet confidence that comes from knowing yourself completely. You stop seeking validation from others because you found validation from the deepest part of yourself. You stop fearing judgment because you've learned to trust your own wisdom. You begin to make decisions from a place of inner knowing rather than external pressure. You say no without explanation and yes without hesitation. You honor your energy as sacred and protect it accordingly. This is the consciousness of the true sovereign, someone who rules their own inner kingdom with wisdom and compassion. You become accountable only to your highest self in the universal principles that govern authentic existence. No one else is coming to save you, and that's your greatest power. Before making any major decision, ask yourself, what would the wisest version of myself do? Trust the first answer that arises, even if it challenges your fears or others' expectations. Sign 7. You feel connected to something greater than yourself. The final sign of cleared karmic debt is perhaps the most profound. You begin to experience yourself as part of a greater whole. The illusion of separation that kept you trapped in individual suffering dissolves. and you recognize your connection to all life. Jung called this the collective unconscious, the shared psychic foundation that connects all human beings. When your personal karma clears, you gain access to this deeper dimension of existence. You stop feeling isolated in your struggles and start feeling supported by an invisible network of love and wisdom. This isn't about losing your individuality. It's about discovering your true place in the cosmic order. You realize that your healing contributes to the healing of the whole, and that your suffering was never yours alone to bear. You might begin to have prophetic dreams, experience telepathic connections with loved ones, or simply feel held by a benevolent presence that pervades everything. You understand that you're not just a separate self trying to survive. You're a conscious expression of the universe coming to know itself through your unique perspective. You are not separate from the universe. You are the universe experiencing itself. In practical terms, this manifests as increased empathy, synchronistic experiences, and a natural desire to serve the greater good. You stop hoarding energy and start sharing it. You stop competing with others and start collaborating with life itself. Practice seeing everyone you encounter as another version of yourself having a different experience. This perspective naturally generates compassion and dissolves the ego's need to be right, better, or separate. We've journeyed through 7 signs of karmic debt clearing, from the dissolution of repetitive patterns to the emergence of cosmic consciousness. Each sign represents a stage in the soul's evolution, from suffering to freedom, from separation to unity, from survival to purpose. But here's the most important truth. Recognizing these signs is not the end of the journey, it's the beginning of a new one. When karmic debt clears, you don't graduate from the human experience. You begin to participate in it from a place of wholeness rather than woundedness. Carl Jung spent his life exploring the depths of the human psyche, and his greatest discovery was this. Within each of us lies an indestructible core of wisdom, love, and power. When we clear the karmic debris that obscures this core, we don't become superhuman. We become authentically human. The path of individuation never ends. There are always deeper levels of integration, more profound experiences of wholeness, and greater opportunities to serve the evolution of consciousness itself. But once you've tasted the freedom of cleared karmic debt, you can never again pretend to be a victim of circumstances beyond your control. Your soul remembers what your mind forgot. You were born free. Use this knowledge wisely. Don't use it to judge others who are still trapped in their karmic patterns. Don't use it to inflate your ego or claim spiritual superiority. Use it to serve, to heal, and to remind others of their own inherent freedom. If you recognize yourself in these signs, take a moment to honor how far you've come. If you're still working through karmic patterns, know that your liberation is not a matter of if, but when. The universe is designed to awaken itself through you, and that awakening is inevitable. What karmic pattern are you most ready to release? What would your life look like if you stopped repeating the same emotional cycles? Let me know what you think in the comments. I read every single one. And of course, subscribe for more high-value content. Remember, you are not here to perfect yourself. You are here to express yourself. Perfection is a trap, a distant ideal that keeps you running in circles, always chasing a version of yourself that doesn't exist, as if you'll only be worthy once you've fixed every flaw. But the universe doesn't respond to perfection, it responds to truth, and your truth already lives within you. When you stop contorting yourself to fit into someone else's mold and begin to live as who you really are, with all your layers, your depth, your shadows, and your light, something shifts. The universe begins to align. The flow returns. The doors open, because finally, you stepped out of hiding, and the world can feel it. That weight you carried, it was never meant to be yours forever. You carried it out of loyalty, out of fear, out of old programming, but it is not who you are. The patterns you kept repeating, they were never your identity. They were echoes, ancient echoes of pain that just wanted to be seen. And you had the courage to look. The endless struggle you endured, that was never your final destination. It was a wake-up call, a reminder that there is something beyond the chaos, and that something is you. You are free. You have always been free. And now, you remember. And in that remembering, everything begins. The healing, the expression, the creation, life flowing from the inside out. You were never meant to blend in. You were meant to be who only you can be. And that is more than enough. And if what you just heard awakens something in you, don't stop here. Because this was just the inner awakening. But what if the world outside is designed to erase it? On the screen right now, you'll see a video called Why Everything Feels Off, 7 Warnings from Carl Jung. In it, we expose how your memory is being rewritten, how distraction became the new form of control, and how Jung saw it coming a century ago. Click it, because remembering who you are is only the beginning. Onward, thinkers.